Hi, and welcome to today's show, where I'll be sharing some insights with regards to generative AI and copyright. Before I dive into any of that, welcome back if you're one of my regulars. And if you're new here, my name is Bybreen Samuels, and I help baby boomers reinvent themselves psychologically, practically, and technically so they can thrive in their third act of life. So, over the last 6 months, for example, we have seen a proliferation in terms of these new AI generative tools. On the one hand, they're fantastic because what they offer us is our opportunity to have our own AI assistant. And this assistant takes away all the kind of routine, mundane, drudgery work that we used to do, or we're diminishing in terms of how much we spend our time on that, through to allowing us to have more freedom, more creativity, and to develop our critical skills. So that's all great, but I have to pull on this quote from my legal days, which is caveat emptor, which basically means buyer beware. Now, why do you need to be aware of this new technology? The reason being is because with this technology, whether you're using the freemium model or the paid model, you've entered into a contractual relationship with whoever has created this technology. For example, ChatGPT and OpenAI, and then you've got Midjourney, as well as Stable Diffusion, as well as Whisper and Jasper. There's a whole host of people and companies who've created this new technology. So you've entered a relationship with them. Now, part and parcel of this relationship really does focus our attention on copyright. So with regards to traditional copyright is literally ascribed to the creator of the work. So for example, I have created and written my own book. So copyright, I own the copyright to my book. And what this allows me to do, and any other creator, it could be literary work, it could be musical, it could be artistic, it could be sound, doesn't really matter. But as long as it was generated by an individual, you have copyright. So it allows you to assign rights in relation to your work to other people. So that's a traditional way of approaching it. And so copyright stays with the creator for the life of the creator plus 70 years. And in the 71st year, it then gets released into something called the public domain. And what this means is that it then opens up the work to be used and utilized by others. Just do a Google on Google search or DuckDuckGo search in terms of public domain works, and you'll see a whole host of works that are now available for you to use if you so choose. Now, there's one exception to all of this, and this exception is with regards to fair use. And what this means is that if your work is being critiqued or it's being reviewed or it forms part and parcel of a news report, then that's the exception to the rule. But generally speaking, under traditional copyright, the copyright lies with the creator. There is one other area, and that's about copyright infringement, which applies to traditional copyright as well as AI generative images. Now, turning to this AI created work, this is where the complexities actually show up. And the complexities arise because there can be more than one creator. So, in terms of AI, the creator could be an individual as well as a company. And there are three. So, it's the person or the company that actually created the AI model. Then, secondly, you've got the person or company that actually trained the AI. And then thirdly, you have the person or the company that's input the data into the AI. And so here we can see there are three potential claims that could be made in terms of who owns the data. Now, the complexity arises because currently there isn't any legislation or statutory instrument or regulations that are covering this new area of technology. So as a result of this, each and every person, each and every one of us that uses this technology runs the risk of potentially being sued. Now, even though there isn't any legislation or good practice around it, legal commentators are already being divided in terms of who has ownership over AI generated work. So you've got some legal commentators, and they're saying, well, actually, copyright can be assigned to humans. And in this case, it could be the company or the individual that has actually created the AI model, or the company or the individual that has trained the model. So that's one set of legal advisors. Now, there's the other set of legal advisors who are saying, well, actually, the AI has ownership of all of this data and this information, and so copyright can be assigned to the AI, which immediately throws up the question, but AI doesn't have a legal entity, it's an inanimate object. So, how could copyright and ownership be assigned to the AI? So, these are some of the complexities that, regulators and legislators have to navigate in order that we have a clearer idea in terms of the area of governance. But there is something that could point to how AI could have legal ownership. So AI is an inanimate object, but AI placed in something could actually allow it to have legal entity. And what I mean by this, here's an example. So about 5 years ago, I came across Sophia, the robot. I actually met her at Web Summit, which is this fantastic tech conference, and she was there. And, she has the kind of resemblances of a woman. What's most important is the fact that this robot, which is powered by AI, has actually been granted legal citizenship in Saudi Arabia. So here we are seeing how a robot that's powered by AI has legal rights and responsibilities and citizenship. So it isn't going to be a far stretch in terms of legal commentators debating the fact that, well, actually, AI could own copyright. Now, as I said, there's no legislation at the moment. This isn't legal advice. I'm just speculating in terms of what could happen in the future. But these are some of the things that you need to be aware of. Now, when we're looking at the AI generative imagery, you've got to be careful here because let's say, for example, the AI creates an image or a body of work that's very similar to previously copyrighted material. If this happens and you then go on to use the AI information, then you open yourself up to the risk of being sued because it's an infringement of what already exists. So we can see we're walking into this like technological landmine filled with all of these bombs that could go off when we're just casually, as we're thinking, we're casually using this technology. So you've got to be careful in terms of what it is that you want to use it for. Make sure that you get legal advice. So, what are some of the risks that are actually attributed to all of this? Well, one is um, who do you actually assign the copyright to? As I've just mentioned, you've got to be clear in terms of who owns it. So, that's a risk. That's one of the areas. Well, who actually owns the copyright? The data that's built within the AI model could have biases, and those biases could point to discriminatory practices. So let's say, for example, that you're using this data, you're using this AI model, and you incorporate it in the product that you want to build, then you could potentially fall foul of those biases that are baked into the actual model. Then there's the issue of quality. So with AI, it lacks the sort of nuances and the creativity that we as humans bring to our work when we're creating things. AI works on the basis of what we give it in terms of data, but beyond that, it lacks the nuances that we as humans actually bring to it. We have another issue in terms of ethics and privacy. So the ethical concern is, well, at what point did we allow AI to use our personal data? And with regards to that data, that then brings us into the realm of privacy. So there are a lot of potential issues that are still very much unresolved, but that you're walking right into when you're thinking of these fantastic ideas that you want to create. So, what could you do? So, here's some practical solutions. With regards to copyright, check, make sure that you aren't stepping on the toes of other individuals who've created intellectual property and you're using it. If you do use images, words, text, etc., make sure that you're crediting the originator of the work, so that, let's say, further on down the line, when there could be some kind of litigation, then at least you can be seen to be the sort of person that paid attention to these types of legalities. So consider, for example, if it has any biases. Does the data have any biases? Because you want to be able to look through the data, look at the model, and bring your intelligence to it. When you're combing through the model, does the model only point to one particular demographic? Yet we're living in this multi-textured, multi-diverse world. Does the data actually reflect this? And another thing that you can do, given that there's this lacuna regarding the law, you could actually start campaigning. Connect with your local councillor, connect with your MP, raise these issues so that they can then take them to Parliament, which could kickstart the conversation, the debate around legislation that's required for the governance of this technology. Because on the one hand, it's fantastic. I can see relevances in so many different arenas. If we just think about the education market, which, the education sector really does need overhauling because it's not very fit for the purpose. So whereas we're seeing these headlines that schools are banning GPT, it's sort of like putting the cart before the horse. The horse has already bolted a long time ago. Every child, well, a lot of children have, they have their smartphones that they carry around. What's the point of students literally, memorizing data to pass an exam when you could literally just pick up your phone and find out what's happening? And here's where, ChatGPT could actually benefit the education system. So instead of spending time memorizing facts that literally at the press of a button you can find the information, what it can do is open up critical thinking. And that's one of the positive things about this AI generated content, is it's going to encourage us to think critically about who we are, how we engage with the world. So critical thinking as well as creativity. Now, they both are two very important attributes to have, because the more that we're living into the complexities of our world, we're going to need critical thinking and creativity to solve problems that we see in society, whether they are at a local level or at a global level. Using our critical faculties and finding this fusion between humans. So we've got this hybrid situation where humans meet machine in the form of this AI generative work that then enhances the quality of what we put out here. So that's what I wanted to share with you. There's very little talk about this at the moment, but the more that we're living into a technologically driven world, is the more aware we must be of the kind of legal challenges that may arise, but how you could actually be stepping into this landmine without recognizing what the implications are. So if you're using any of these tools, I'd love to hear which ones you're using, how you're using them, and at the end of the day, seek legal advice. At the moment, there is nothing governing this area, so it's a bit like the wild, wild west. But to protect yourself, go ahead, seek legal advice. And if you've got any comments, please put them in the comment box below. You know that we meet here every week, Sunday at 3:30. I'd love to engage with you further. And if you have any other baby boomers in your life, mum, dad, grandparents, colleagues, friends, neighbors, invite them along. We're here every Sunday at 3:30. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.